Hello my dear friends, welcome to Live Prep. In the previous lecture of molecular basis of inheritance, we have studied that how biomolecules chapters information is interlinked with molecular basis of inheritance. And as part of that, we have studied about the tissue analysis, and there we studied about two types of fractions. One is called as acid soluble pool and it is also called as filtrate, and other one is called as acid insoluble pool and that is also called as retentate. And acid soluble fraction is having bio micromolecules, whereas acid insoluble fraction is having bio macromolecules. Within that bio macromolecules, we studied again four types of components. One is proteins, and other one is nucleic acids, and the third one is polysaccharides, and the last one is lipids. Out of these four, first three means proteins, nucleic acids, and polysaccharides. These three are originally are the truly macromolecules because these three are actually the polymers, whereas the last one, that is lipids, are not polymers. Up to that we have studied, right? And now in this lecture we will focus more on the nucleic acids. What are the two types of nucleic acids? In general, what is their function? That's it. Up to that point only we will study in this particular lecture. So in the next lecture we will study about some other information that was given in NCERT introduction with respect to this molecular base of inheritance. Okay. So in this lecture mainly we are focusing about what are the functions of two nucleic acids. That's it. Only that part. And the remaining information in the next lecture we will continue further. Clear? So with this particular one, so first we need to talk about this. What are the different types of nucleic acids and their function? That's it. Very small part. So quickly we will try to understand, but though we are trying to make it very quickly and very short, each and every point is very important, and I will try to analyze this in a different way so that in the examination you should not make any mistake. Please remember this. Try to understand the concept. Read the sentences in the examination. Read the sentences very carefully, and at the same time, when the lecture is going on, so I will ask you some questions. I will give you some statements. Listen them very properly. Anyhow, I will repeat 2 to 3 times. Listen them very properly. So what is the logic behind that particular sentence? Try to understand that. Then only you can understand. So what is the original answer, or if I am giving a statement whether it is true or false. So these types of conclusions you can get only after analysis of the content. So that is the reason why. So please try to understand this information. Now let us quickly start with this molecular basis of inheritance. And in the previous lecture itself we have concluded that. So for the inheritance, whether it is DNA, RNA, whatever it is, nucleic acid is important. So nucleic acid is responsible for inheritance of characters. Up to that we have given the conclusion. Fine. And now these nucleic acids are how many types? Nucleic acids are two types. Nucleic acids are two types. What are those? DNA and RNA. These are two types. Yes or no? So what is the full form of DNA? So it is deoxyribo. Deoxyribo nucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid is nothing but a DNA. So DNA. In short, we are calling this as DNA. And what is this RNA? It is ribonucleic acid. Ribonucleic acid. So in short, we are calling this as RNA. And what is the difference between these two? It is type of sugar that is present. Anyhow, in the next coming lectures with structure, with the details we will study. So here I am giving the conclusion. So it is mainly based on the type of sugar. So in the case of DNA, what is the sugar that is present? Deoxyribo sugar is present. But in the case of RNA, what is the sugar that is present? Ribo sugar is present. So these points you please observe very carefully. So these are the things. Fine. So now the point is regarding the remaining word, nucleic acid. Now I will ask some questions. So listen them very carefully and then you just tell me whether they are true or false and what type of the information is. Observe this. Here also you have given this as nucleic acid. Here also you have written this as nucleic acid. Fine. Yes or no? Now I will say the sentence. So this nucleic acids. Please remember, listen the sentence carefully. Whether it is true or false, that you need to tell me. Nucleic acids. I am giving you one statement. What is the statement? Nucleic acids are present. Nucleic acids are present only in nucleus. Nucleic acids are present only in the nucleus. This is the sentence I am giving you. Whether it is true or false, that you need to tell me. Once again, I will repeat the sentence. Listen carefully. Nucleic acids are present only in the nucleus. Only in the nucleus. This is the statement. Or the same statement I will ask in the reverse. These molecules, DNA and RNA, these are the molecules that are called as nucleic acids because they are present only in the nucleus. Think logically and tell me whether it is true or false. DNA and RNA are the nucleic acids, okay? But what I am saying, they are called as nucleic acids because they are present only in the nucleus, only in the nucleus. This is the word that we are saying. Now tell me true or false. It is a false statement. It is a false statement. Observe this very carefully. Now let us see what is nucleic acid. What is the meaning of nucleic acid? Why the scientists have given that particular name, and now why it is false here. So all these points we need to observe very carefully. Okay. So first we will see the logic here. So why they are called as nucleic acids? From the nucleus, for the first time they have isolated. When the scientists have isolated these molecules, they have isolated these molecules from the nucleus. That's why they call them as nucleic acids. From the nucleus, that's why nucleic. The nature of these molecules is acidic nature. That's why they have called them as nucleic acids. Fine. Up to that, fine. They are called as nucleic acids. Fine. But what is our sentence? Our sentence is nucleic acids are present only in the nucleus. Only in the nucleus. What is the meaning of this? Inside the nucleus, DNA is present. True or false? Yes, it is true. Then what about RNA? RNA. From the DNA, RNA is produced. Where? In the nucleus only. So now observe carefully. DNA is present in the nucleus is correct. In the nucleus is correct. DNA is produced in the nucleus, that is also correct. DNA is produced in the nucleus during the S phase of cell cycle. In the cell cycle, so already we have studied about this G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase, M phase. In the S phase, DNA replication occurs. That means DNA synthesis occurs in S phase. And during the S phase, nucleus is present. That means DNA synthesis occurs inside the nucleus is correct. No problem. Fine. Now come to this RNA. Where this RNA is produced? That is also produced in the nucleus. So DNA has the genes, right? From the genes, RNA is produced. Fine. But I am not talking about a produced. I am asking about a present. Now where it is present? DNA is produced in the nucleus, present in the nucleus, correct? But what about this RNA? RNA is produced in the nucleus, correct? But where it is present? Where it will go? This RNA is coming. Majority of the RNAs, some RNAs are present in the nucleus, but some types of RNAs like mRNA, tRNA, rRNA, where they will go? Ultimately, they will come into the cytoplasm. That means RNAs are present even in cytoplasm also. Yes or no? They are coming into the cytoplasm and they are present here. tRNA present here, rRNA present here. mRNA is also coming into cytoplasm. So their protein synthesis will occur. That means present only in the nucleus will be wrong. Please understand this. They are called as nucleic acids. Fine, no problem. That is correct. But they are present only in the nucleus. That is wrong. Please understand this small difference. So they are present in the nucleus. They are even present in the cytoplasm also. But in the cytoplasm, DNA is not present. RNA is present in the cytoplasm. But if they are specifically talking about DNA, it is present only in the nucleus. Correct. But here also if you see, in the case of eukaryotes, if you are observing the plastids, in the cell chapter we have studied about the plastids, right? And even we have studied about the mitochondria also. And there very clearly they have mentioned mitochondrial stroma has circular double stranded DNA. Mitochondrial matrix has circular double stranded DNA. That means anyhow in the nucleus they are present, but along with this in eukaryotes, plastids means leucoplast, chromoplast, chloroplast, all the plastids, not just chloroplast, all the plastids, they have DNA in their stroma. And even the mitochondria is also having this DNA in its stroma. Mitochondrial stroma is having DNA. So these are the other locations apart from nucleus. So this is what the content is. So what is the content, what is the logic behind the statement? So everything you need to observe very carefully so that you can come for the conclusion. So in this way, nucleic acids, so for the first time they have discovered them from the nucleus and they are having acidic nature. That's why they are called as nucleic acids, and nucleic acids are two types based on the type of sugar that is present. If nucleic acid has ribose sugar, it is called as ribonucleic acid. If nucleic acid has deoxyribose sugar, it is called as deoxyribonucleic acid. That's it. Clear. With this, the two types of nucleic acids are completed. And next point that we are studying is functions. What are the functions of these nucleic acids? These points, even though they have mentioned in the NCERT, I will go with a clear-cut explanation. And these explanations are very important to solve so many problems in the biology. So some sentences they will give, you need to identify whether they are true or false, or some MCQ they will give and you need to get the answer. So these are the whatever we are discussing in this particular chapter. At some of these locations, many students are making mistakes. So I will go very clear. So we will go with point by point. Anyhow, all these things, some of these things were given in the MBI introductory part itself in the NCERT. So we will go with the content clearly. First, we will focus on DNA. What is the full form of DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Just now we have studied. And now we are going with the function. What is the function of DNA? What is the function of DNA? It has only one function. What is the function? DNA acts as genetic material. This is the one and only function. DNA acts as genetic material. Please remember this. Wherever DNA is there, always DNA will act as genetic material. That is the one and only function for this DNA. So one and only means DNA is acting as genetic material means it will control all the cellular activities. So that is the function of genetic material. Fine. Nice. Now in which organism? This is important. Now we will go with NCERT. Now from now onwards you need to be little bit more focused regarding these points. DNA acts as genetic material, good. But in which organism? If you are observing NCERT, they give most organisms. In most of the organisms, they have given in one sentence. In another sentence, they said majority of the organisms. Meaning is same only. Majority of the organisms or most of the organisms, they have DNA as genetic material. Clear? Now my question is, what is this most? Most, they said, correct. But what actually will come under this most? This is the point that you need to observe very carefully. For this explanation, I will give in the next slide. Observe very carefully. So, most of the organisms means, first we will talk about 5 kingdom classification. 5 kingdom classification. Already in class 11th, in biological classification, already we have studied. 5 kingdom classification was given by Whittaker. So, it is having total 5 kingdoms. What are the names? Tell me quickly. What are the 5 kingdoms here? So, kingdom Monera. Next one is kingdom Protista. And the third one is kingdom Fungi. And the next one is kingdom Plantae. And the next one is kingdom Animalia. Yes or no? So kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi. And next one, kingdom Plantae, you can say Plantae or you can say plants. Kingdom Animalia you can say, or you can say animals, whatever it is. So these are the total 5 kingdoms. Fine. And now you need to tell me what is the genetic material of these 5 kingdoms. What is the genetic material in kingdom Monera? What is the genetic material in Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia? Tell me the answer. So we will go from bottom to the top. It will be easy for you. What is the genetic material of kingdom Animalia? Animals are having DNA as genetic material. What is the genetic material of plants? There also DNA is the genetic material. And what is the genetic material of fungi? Here also DNA is the genetic material. Yes or no? And what is the genetic material of Protista? Here also it is the DNA, because all these are eukaryotes. Now tell me for the Monera. What is the genetic material that is present in kingdom Monera? Is it DNA only, RNA only, or both? Both means some are having DNA, some are having RNA. Now tell. Many students are making mistake here, so that's why deliberately I am asking this particular question. What is the genetic material for kingdom Monera? What is the genetic material? It is DNA only. DNA only. Many students are saying that RNA also. No, it is not RNA. Complete kingdom Monera is having only DNA as a genetic material. So why you are getting that particular doubt? Why you are talking about RNA in between here? So now let us see here. So definitely we know that some viruses, I will write with a different color so that you can easily differentiate them. Viruses. The main doubt is with respect to viruses. In the case of viruses, if you see, some viruses have DNA as genetic material, some viruses have RNA as genetic material. Yes or no? This is what the doubt is. Now, what are the organisms that are present under kingdom Monera? What are the organisms that are present under kingdom Monera? Eubacteria is present, Archaebacteria is present, Cyanobacteria are present. Likewise, related to bacteria, all these are present. Fine. But the question is, in which kingdom these viruses are present? In which kingdom these viruses are present? If you know that, you can get the answer. In which kingdom these viruses are present? Are they present in any of these 5 kingdoms? No, please remember, this is the another mistake done by many students. Many students are thinking that viruses are coming under kingdom Monera. No, viruses are not placed under any of the kingdoms. This is the most important point that you need to remember. They are not part of any kingdom. That means you should not talk about viruses if you are talking about 5 kingdoms. Okay? Understood or not? So when you are talking about 5 kingdoms, you should not talk about viruses. Is it clear? So kingdom Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia, all the 5 kingdoms are having only DNA as a genetic material. Clear? Then what about viruses? Now regarding the viruses, we will study separately. They are not part of any kingdom. Why they are not part of any kingdom? Because they are not considered as living organisms. This is the most important point you need to understand. Viruses are not considered as living organisms. Already in the cell chapter, class 11th, we have clearly studied about all these things. Yes or no? So I have discussed very clearly regarding the viruses in the cell chapter, cell theory. What cell theory says? What cell theory says? And if you are clearly observing the cell chapter beginning, there they are talking about difference between living organisms and non-living things. Living organisms and non-living things. Yes or no? What is the difference between living organism and non-living thing? Living organisms have the basic unit called cell. Living organisms have the basic unit called cell, whereas non-living things, they do not have cell. So that's why if you take these 5 kingdoms, you just take any organism, definitely it will have at least one cell. So cell is present in all these. What about the viruses? Do they have the cells? No, viruses do not have cells. Please observe this concept very carefully. Viruses do not have cells. So viruses do not have cells. So viruses are not considered as living organisms. Then who will study? So if they are not living organisms, why you are studying under the biology? So this is another important point. Yes, why we are studying under biology? Because viruses, when they are present outside the host, they are behaving like non-living things. But if virus is infecting the host, inside the host, they are able to reproduce. They are able to produce next generation like living organisms. So outside the host, they are behaving like non-living things. And inside the host, they are behaving like living organisms, even though they don't have the cell. And that too, viruses are causing so many diseases. Again, they are related to biology. So that is the reason why we are studying viruses under the biology. Even though they are not considered as living organisms, still we are studying under the biology. That is the only reason. That's it. But technically, if you are talking technically, living organisms means what will come? Only the 5 kingdoms will come. Under the living organisms, viruses will not come. So this is the one and most important point that you need to understand. So that's why in simple we will write here So what is the point that we need to write? Under this most, what will come? All 5 kingdoms will come. All the 5 kingdoms will come under this particular group. So for all the 5 kingdoms, DNA is the genetic material. Clear? Like this also you can write, or now I will try to analyze this information in a different way. Try to observe this very carefully so that when you are going for solving MCQs, it will become very easy. If you are observing this kingdom Monera. Kingdom Monera is what? Prokaryote. Kingdom Monera is prokaryotes. All the organisms of kingdom Monera are prokaryotes. Then what about kingdom Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia? All these 4 kingdoms have eukaryotes. Yes or no? Now I will give the statements. True or false, you please tell me. All the prokaryotes have DNA as a genetic material. True or false? All the prokaryotes have DNA as a genetic material. True or false? Yes, it is true. All the eukaryotes have DNA as a genetic material. True or false? Yes, it is also true. So here what you can write? You can write all 5 kingdoms, or you can write all prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Can you write like this? Yes. All prokaryotes and eukaryotes also have DNA as genetic material. Like this also you can write. Now I will tell you another way of analysis. What is that analysis? Observe it very carefully. Now observe very carefully. Kingdom Monera and Protista combinedly. Kingdom Monera, prokaryotes, but unicellular. Kingdom Protista is eukaryotic, but these are also unicellular. So now these are unicellular. Unicellular. So what are unicellular? Kingdom Monera and Protista, both of them are unicellular organisms. Then what about fungi, plant and animalia? So overall if you see, these are multicellular. These are multicellular organisms. Yes or no? So in this way 2 groups. Now tell me. All unicellular, now listen the sentence carefully. All unicellular organisms have DNA as genetic material. True or false? Yes, it is true. All multicellular organisms have DNA as genetic material. Yes or no? That is also true. So you can write like this. All unicellular and multicellular organisms. In any way you can write this. So please observe this carefully. In NCERT simply they said that majority of the organisms, most of the organisms, simply they said, but you need to clearly understand what are those. So you can write all 5 kingdoms, you can write all prokaryotes and eukaryotes, you can write all unicellular and multicellular organisms. Please remember, viruses are not unicellular because they don't have cell at all. Why you will consider viruses under unicellular? And if you clearly recollect it, in the cell chapter, clearly they have asked what is the smallest cell? What is the smallest cell? Is it a virus or mycoplasma? Mycoplasma. Mycoplasma will come under kingdom Monera because that is having a cell, smallest cell. So that will come under kingdom Monera. Yes or no? So they are the mycoplasmas. But what about the viruses? They are not considered as cells. Even though they are smaller than mycoplasma, they are not considered as cell. So this is the logic that you need to understand. So in this way, here what we are writing, DNA is acting as genetic material in most of the organisms. That means all the 5 kingdoms. This is one thing. Plus, what are the other things? If you are observing the viruses clearly, some viruses have DNA as genetic material, whereas some others are having RNA as genetic material. So anyhow all these are there. Along with this, some viruses, that also you are writing here. So most means all 5 kingdoms plus some viruses. Now what type of viruses? So there is a huge number of viruses are present, but what is the compulsory example that we need to remember for NEET examination? Please observe this very carefully. So what is the compulsory example here? So observe carefully. In the NCERT, in this chapter itself, we are studying some examples. What are those viruses? If you are studying about this one, example, first one, Bacteriophage lambda. Bacteriophage lambda. This is the one important example that we need to understand. Next one, Bacteriophage Phaeax 174. This is the symbol 5. 5x174. This is also a bacteriophage. This is also having DNA as genetic material. And these two were given in the initial part of the NCERT itself. And later on, after a few days, we will study one experiment. And that experiment is called based on the name of scientists. There are two scientists. One scientist is Hershey and other scientist is Chase. And the name of experiment is Hershey and Chase experiment. And what is the aim of that experiment? We need to prove that, actually those scientists have proved that, DNA is the genetic material in the virus. Virus means bacteriophage. Please remember what is the meaning of bacteriophage. Bacteriophage is not bacterium. What is the bacteriophage? Phage means virus. Bacteriophage. Phage is the virus. Virus that is infecting bacterium. For the growth of the virus, it needs some host. So in the case of bacteriophage, virus, it is the virus that is infecting bacteria. That means host is the bacterium. In that bacterium, it can multiply so that it can produce many new virus particles. That is what the logic is. So these two are the viruses having DNA as genetic material. But in that experiment, these two viruses were not used. They have used something else. And actually that is called as a T2, capital T, number 2. T2 bacteriophage. T2 bacteriophage. That's it. And these are the three important examples from the NCERT, that too from this chapter itself. All the three examples are from this chapter itself. So please remember this. So DNA, wherever it is there, it will act as genetic material. This is the first point. Second point, and this is the genetic material for most of the organisms. Most means all the living organisms. For the 5 kingdoms, you can write that all living organisms. You can write like this also. For all living organisms. Technically, what is the living means? Those which are containing cell, that is called a living organism. So for all living organisms, DNA is the genetic material. Plus, some viruses are also having DNA as genetic material. That's why in the NCERT they call this as a most organism. Even though technically virus should not come under organism, but they have considered, so we need to give explanation for that particular consideration. So that's why we have given explanation like this. That's it. So with this completed. The information regarding DNA is completed. So DNA is acting as genetic material. These are the examples. Over. And in the next part, we are talking about the RNA as functions. RNA having different functions. So RNA is having different functions. In the case of DNA, we studied only genetic material. But in the case of RNA, huge functions are present. Because different types of RNAs are there. Different types of RNAs are having different roles. So that's why one after the other we will clearly study. So once we complete these functions, this lecture will be completed. Okay. Now let us see. First for the RNA we will see. Can RNA act as genetic material? Yes. Just now we studied, no? Yes. In some viruses DNA is genetic material. But what about the other viruses? They are having RNA as genetic material. So in some viruses, the RNA is also acting as genetic material. So here RNA, first point, it acts as genetic material. RNA acts as genetic material. This is the first point. Where it will act as genetic material? Can it act as genetic material in the 5 kingdoms? No. There already DNA is acting as genetic material. So based on this particular logic, I am asking you one question. So listen very carefully. Let us take a human cell. That is easy for our understanding. Human cell. In the case of human cell has DNA. Even human cells are having RNA also. Different types of RNA are present. So in this way, if there is a cell, now just take in general. If there is a cell, and naturally this cell is having both DNA and RNA. It is having both DNA and RNA. If a cell is having both DNA and RNA, then who will act as genetic material? Please observe this. This is a logical question. A cell is having both DNA and RNA. If a cell is having both the types of nucleic acids, then who will act as genetic material? Options: only DNA, only RNA, both DNA and RNA, and none of this. Or some other option they will give. What is the correct answer? Please observe carefully. When both of them are present, only DNA will act as genetic material. Please understand this. If both DNA and RNA are present, only DNA will act as genetic material. In that particular cell or in that particular organism, RNA will never act as genetic material. Please understand this. If DNA is there, yes, that is the genetic material. RNA cannot act as genetic material. Then when RNA will act as genetic material? If DNA is not present, let us take some example like virus. DNA is not present, only RNA is there. Then yes, definitely RNA will be acting as genetic material. So that is the reason why RNA acts as genetic material in some viruses. RNA acts as genetic material in some viruses, because already in some other viruses already DNA is genetic material, right? So that's why in the remaining only RNA is genetic material. And now what we need to do? NCERT examples, each and every example. So even though in the introduction they have not given all this information, definitely we need to study these things in this particular part. So that's why please remember, we need to go through these examples. What are these examples? Some viruses like, now tell me. Already in class 11th biological classification, we have studied about this particular example. What is that? TMV. Yes or no? Already you know the full form. What is the TMV? Tobacco mosaic virus. RNA as genetic material. Already you studied this. Not only this. In this particular chapter, same example they have given. Along with this, they gave one more example. What is that? QB bacteriophage. QB bacteriophage. What is this QB bacteriophage? Q beta, alpha beta, like this you are saying, no? So that is the B for beta, it is actually. So it is Q beta, but in NCERT they have not given like Q beta, simply they give QB. So let us follow QB. So QB bacteriophage. These two examples were given in this particular chapter of molecular base of inheritance. Plus, from another chapter we are taking one more example. What is that chapter? Human health and diseases. In class 12th, there is another chapter called human health and diseases. And there they have given one very important virus that is called as HIV. HIV. What is the full form of HIV? Human immunodeficiency virus. Human immunodeficiency virus. What is the disease caused by this? AIDS. 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 Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Anyhow, all these things we will study regarding HIV separately in human health and diseases. They gave there we will study about huge information. Clear? At least please remember these three examples. These three examples are from NCERT itself. So in this way, in some viruses, RNA can act as genetic material. Clear? First function is completed. Next one. Not only this, different other type of RNA. Please remember, genetic material RNA, only genetic material. It cannot show other functions. So this is one type of RNA. Because in RNA different types are there. Some type of RNA in some viruses they are acting as genetic material. And next one, there are some other types of RNA. Some types of RNA act as messenger. Now tell me, what is the meaning of messenger? Who is called as messenger? Messenger means this is a molecule or a person or a human being or an animal or a bird or something which is carrying information from one location to other location. Simple meaning of messenger is the one who is passing on information from one to other is called as messenger. So that means what is the meaning of this one? How this RNA is acting as a messenger? Yes. So this RNA is acting as a messenger. How? Originally information is present in the DNA. So information present in the DNA should go into the protein. So from the DNA it is taking information and it is giving information to the protein. So since it is carrying this information, it is called as messenger RNA. That's why it is called as a messenger. So for this one, what is the example? mRNA. Example is mRNA. M means messenger RNA. Anyhow, regarding this, more details in the next coming lectures we will study. So this is simply an introduction. So simply we will understand the names and then we will stop it. That's it. So further details slowly we will understand. Clear? Over. This is another function. Over. So this is one type of RNA and this is having messenger RNA function, messenger function. Over. Next one. Some other types of RNA, so they are having different other functions like adapter. What is the meaning of adapter here? So regularly we are calling, so mobile phone charger as an adapter, laptop charger as an adapter. Yes or no? So adapter. But here what is the adapter? So is it the meaning of charger here? No. Adapter. What is the simple English meaning of adapter? Adapter means it is a connector. It is a connector. It is connecting two things. Adapter means connector. It is connecting two things. What are the two things? Here RNA is connecting two things. So what is that RNA? Here the example is tRNA. tRNA, what is the meaning of this T? T means transfer. T means transfer. So tRNA, that means transfer RNA is acting as an adapter or connector. That means, suppose this is the tRNA. It should connect two things. That means on one side it should connect one thing, other side it should connect other thing. What are these two things? So tRNA on one side it is attached to amino acid. On one side it is attached to amino acid, and on the other side it is attached to codon present on mRNA. It is attached to codon present on mRNA. Please understand this. This line is tRNA. This line is tRNA. So tRNA is connecting two things. One side it is connected to amino acid, other side it is connected to codon present on mRNA. Don't worry about what is codon. Slowly we will study. Simply understand this. So since this RNA is connecting two things, it is called as adapter. That's what we are writing. So RNA can function as an adapter or connector. And specifically what is that form? tRNA. tRNA is called transfer RNA. Why it is called transfer? See, it is attached to amino acid. That means by attaching to amino acid, it is transferring amino acids for the protein synthesis. From the cytosol, it is taking this and then it is taking to the ribosomes. They are also present in cytoplasm only. So there they are taking. So they are taking to the ribosome. So their amino acids are attached to each other. So long polymer called protein is synthesized. So for protein synthesis, it is transferring amino acid. That's why it is called tRNA. So tRNA, adapter RNA, both of them are same only. Understood? Over. Next one. Next one we will continue in the next slide. So here RNA is having some other function. So RNA acts as, or RNA has structural role. RNA has structural role. Now you need to be little bit more focused. What is this structural role? What is the meaning of having structural role? RNA has structural role means RNA forms some structures. RNA is making some structures. What structures? What are those structures? Those structures are nothing but ribosomes. Those structures are nothing but ribosomes. Already in class 11th in eukaryotic cell we studied ribosomes. 70s ribosomes, 80s ribosomes. Yes or no? So we have studied, right? So 80s ribosomes, larger subunit is 60s and the smaller subunit is 40s. Already we have studied, right? And the larger subunit 60s is having three types of rRNAs. What are those? 28s rRNA. See this is RNA. And then 5.8s rRNA. 5.8s rRNA. And then finally it is 5s rRNA. And along with some proteins, it will form larger subunit. Smaller subunit is having 18s rRNA. 18s rRNA plus some proteins, they will form smaller. So anyhow, we are not worrying about proteins, focus on rRNAs. So to form the ribosomes, different types of RNAs are required. And all these RNAs are rRNAs. What is this small r means? Ribosomal RNA. So having structural zone is example rRNA. rRNA. What is this small r? Ribosomal RNA. Why it is called ribosomal RNA? Because rRNA forms ribosomes. So for the formation of ribosomes, these rRNAs are needed. So in this way, RNA is forming some structures called ribosomes. That's why we are saying that RNA has structural role. And what is that RNA? What is that RNA? rRNA. This is for 80s ribosome. Same way for 70s ribosome, if you see, larger subunit is 50s and smaller subunit is 30s. In the larger subunit, what are present? 23s rRNA is present and 5s rRNA is present along with some proteins. It is forming larger subunit. Yes, sir, already we studied all these things. And in the smaller subunit, what are present? 16s rRNA is present. plus some proteins are present and they are forming this smaller subunit. All these rRNAs, you should compulsorily remember. Anyhow, here I don't want to give the full details because already you have studied these things under the cell chapter. So that's why I am not telling here. And these things, once again, I will tell in this chapter itself. When we are actually studying about ribosomes, just before translation process, that day I will tell about all these things with more details. In this lecture, we don't want to spend time on this. Simply understand that to form ribosomes, RNAs and proteins are important, compulsory. So in this way, RNAs are important for formation of ribosomes. That's why these RNAs are called as ribosomal RNAs. In this way, RNA has structural role. That's it. This is what the interlinking concept. Over. So in this way, till now what we have studied, RNA has genetic material, RNA is acting as genetic material, RNA is acting as messenger, RNA is acting as adapter, and RNA has structural role. Up to this we have studied, and after this we will study about one last another important function. RNA has another function. What is that function? So RNA acts as an enzyme. RNA acts as an enzyme. Already regarding this, in biomolecules chapter we have studied. In the biomolecules, there is a sentence. What is the sentence? What is the sentence? So in the next slide, I will write this particular one. Observe this carefully. Almost all enzymes are proteins. This is the sentence that was given in biomolecules chapter of class 11th, right? Almost all enzymes are proteins. Observe this word carefully. They gave almost all. They did not say all enzymes because it has an exception. What is the exception? So generally, who is acting as enzymes? Generally, proteins are acting as enzymes. But here, what is the exception? Sometimes RNA can also act as an enzyme. If RNA acts as an enzyme, what is the name we have studied? It is called as a ribozyme. RNA rarely RNA can act as an enzyme, and if RNA acts as an enzyme, it is called as ribozyme. Same point we are writing here. RNA can act as an enzyme. That means it is ribozyme. RNA can act as an enzyme and it is called ribozyme. But in the NCERT, directly they did not say that acting as an enzyme. In NCERT, the wording is different. What they said? So it has catalytic activity. Catalytic activity. What is the meaning of this catalytic activity? That catalytic activity is nothing but again enzyme activity only. What are the enzymes? Enzymes are nothing but biocatalysts, right? So catalytic activity means enzymatic activity. So RNA has catalytic activity means RNA is acting as an enzyme. That means ribozyme we are talking. It is nothing but ribozyme. Yes or no? So now with this they have stopped. But in this chapter of molecular base of inheritance, we will study total 3 examples. I am telling you in advance. Now I will write all the 3 examples. You please simply by heart them until we are getting proper example in the regular content. For the regular content, in the regular content to discuss these examples, it will take so much of time. Maybe after 20 to 25 lecture. After 20 to 25 lectures, we may study about this. So until then, you just simply remember this. And once that particular content comes, I will give the proper explanation so that you can easily understand this. Okay. So with this NCERT content is over. But for this particular one, we need to write 3 important examples. Example number 1. What is the first example? Observe carefully. So just now we have written this, right? So with this reference, I will try to make it easy. 28S rRNA. So whatever it is RNA, right? So this has enzyme activity. Please understand this. 28S rRNA present in 60S subunit of 80S ribosome. So this 28S rRNA has enzyme activity. Same point I am writing here. So please observe this carefully. 28S rRNA. Whenever you are writing this S should be capital. It is name of scientist Swedberg. Already in the cell chapter we have studied this. So please remember this. So 28S rRNA present in 60s subunit of 60s subunit of 80s ribosome. 80s ribosome. This is one example. So 28s rRNA is having enzyme activity. Now second example. Come here. For the 80s, larger is 60s. In that the major one is 28s. Same logic here also. For 70s, larger subunit is 50s. In this the major one is 23s. That means for 80s eukaryote, 80s is called eukaryotic ribosome. For eukaryotic ribosome, 28s rRNA. 70s is also called prokaryotic ribosome. And for this it is 23s rRNA. So same point you please write. Here what we will write? 23s rRNA. Observe the logic so that you can easily understand this. In the case of 80s ribosome, 28 is there. That's why we are writing that. But in the 70s, 23 is there. The same thing we are writing. So 23s rRNA present in what is the largest subunit? 50s subunit. 50s subunit of 70s ribosome. These two are having some enzyme activities. Okay. And now what is the name of that activity? For these two I am writing. Here also. Enzyme name is same. What is this name? So 28s rRNA and 23s rRNA. These two. 28s rRNA and 23s rRNA. We are talking about these two, right? These are the RNAs having enzyme activity. What is the name of that enzyme? That also we need to write. So these two have what is the name of that particular enzyme? Peptidyl transferase. You can easily understand the meaning also. Peptidyl transferase activity. What is the function of these RNAs? They will help in transfer of what? Peptide. Peptide means what? Small protein. Lengthwise if it is small, that is called as peptide. So peptide transfer. So that means these two are involved in protein synthesis. This is for 80s ribosome protein synthesis. This is for 70s ribosome protein synthesis. Whatever it is, these are involved in protein synthesis. So definitely we will study these two things. When we will study in this particular chapter, there is a concept called as a translation. What is translation? Synthesis of protein is called translation. So at that time we will study about these two things. Clear? These are the two examples. And there is the last example, that is the third one. What is this third one? Please remember, while writing you need to write small letters. Small s, small n, capital RNA. snRNA. What is this snRNA? Within brackets I will write. What is the S? S means small. S means small. N means nuclear. It is present in the nucleus. This is a small RNA that is present in the nucleus. That's why it is called a small nuclear RNA. And what is its function? It is also having enzyme activity. But what is the name of enzyme? Not needed. But where it is involved, that is important. So snRNA involves in splicing process. What is splicing? Don't ask now. So it will take so much of time. So that splicing process is little bit complicated, and we will study very clearly under the heading of transcription. In the MBI, we will study transcription. What is transcription? Synthesis of RNA from DNA is called as transcription. So at that time, we will study about this particular splicing. So what you need to do? Simply remember these three examples. Don't ask any further explanation. What is peptidyl transferase? What is its function? Where it is used? And what is this splicing? Where we will study? Don't ask these questions. Slowly we will study when that particular time comes. So today what you need to do? 28s rRNA, 23s rRNA and snRNA. So these RNAs are acting as enzyme. They have catalytic activity. That's why these three are examples for ribozyme. Many times in this chapter we will study these three examples. And my suggestion is please remember these three examples you just write on the first page of molecular base of inheritance. Open the NCERT textbook. So first page of that molecular base of inheritance somewhere. You please write all these three examples as it is. Ribozyme and these three examples as it is, like this. And with this, this particular lecture is completed, and quickly we will revise this one. Nucleic acids are two types, one is DNA and other one is RNA. DNA has only one function, that is acting as genetic material, and where it will act as genetic material? All 5 kingdoms and some viruses. What is the sentence given in NCERT? Most of the organisms, because they are considering viruses also. That's why they are saying most of the organism. Then what about some other? Other means what? Some viruses. What is the genetic material? RNA is the genetic material in some viruses. RNA is the genetic material in some viruses. And RNA is having some additional functions also. What are the additional functions? It can act as messenger. It can act as adapter, that is tRNA. And then it is also having some structural role. What are the structures formed? Ribosomes. So in this way, different types of rRNAs are examples for this one. And not only this, it is also having catalytic activity, enzymatic activity. That's why it is called ribozyme. And for that we have written the 3 examples. So in this way, the 2 nucleic acids and their general functions overview we have studied in this particular lecture. And in the next lecture we will study some other points, and then we will start reading the NCERT also. Please remember, I told you to go through that particular video lecture regarding that what actually we are covering from NCERT. Under the general introduction, I told you to go through that video. You just go through it. So as and when we are completing the explanation, so definitely we will go with NCERT reading part also, so that you will never make any mistake and you will never face any problem in understanding NCERT, and you will never face any problem while solving MCQs from any book of your wish. Anyhow, we will provide, and along with this, any book that is available in the market or in the internet, you can easily solve with these particular concepts. Okay, so we will meet in the next lecture. Thank you so much. Thank you.